This deck is the Wolfman deck. That's what I've named it, the Wolfman deck. An extreme situation of peeling deck paint. Believe it or not, this did not look like this. It was actually in pretty decent shape. The cleaning process has done this. The coating just didn't have great adhesion, so a lot of it was coming up. It did have some areas of peeling before we started this, but it wasn't extreme like this. It's an extreme situation now, right? Let's talk real quick about the challenges at this deck before Kong Armor deck painters come in and lock down and encapsulate this beautiful, beautiful deck that's got peeling paint with our ultra thick lifetime armor coating system. This will be the last coating system that these people will need, okay? Challenge number one is obviously dealing with this peeling deck paint. When this is all resolved, I'm going to show you guys how we resolute this for our customers. Challenge number two is loose fasteners. Fasteners that have popped up and become loose over the years. There's plenty of them here on this deck. Kong Armor will take care of this too. Challenge number three are going to be bad deck boards. Rotten. Corrosion from fasteners was the problem here. We're going to talk about that at the end. Challenge number four is obviously dirt and grime buildup all over the deck, mildew and algae. Challenge number five is going to be hairline cracks and resurfacing. So all these cracks that are running through the deck boards, we call them hairlines. They exist here. They're numerous, they're everywhere. Not extreme, but they are numerous. We'll talk about how we remedied that as well at the end. Challenge number six, checking in the deck post. In the outside structural deck post, the 6x6 posts that are holding up this deck, they all have large areas of checking. This is what we call this checking, or cracks in deck post. We'll talk about that at the end. So I'm live here at the Wolfman deck. This is also a deck in Taylor Mill, Kentucky. Just completed one today in Taylor Mill. Here's another one that is now complete in Taylor Mill. And I promised you guys that once we completed this, we would talk about the challenges that we constantly talk about with deck systems, specifically wood deck systems. The number one, I'm not going to go in order, but one of them was the mildew and algae growth, right? Kong Armor, when we come in to do a deck, we very, very specifically spend a great deal of time cleaning, because we know that when deck paint systems fail, typically it's from lack of proper cleaning, okay? So whether we use a chemical or whether we use force or pressure, our main concern is to get mildew, algae, and dirt off of these so that we can properly coat them. You know, just like stone or concrete is a strong foundation for a house, a strong foundation for a deck paint system is proper cleaning. Without it, you will fail, okay? Another one of the challenges that we talked about here was something called checking, all right? Or what the average man calls deck post cracks, right? This deck had some very large structural cracks running the length of the deck post. There's two ways that we deal with these. One, if they're not very big, if they're smaller in nature and we feel that they still have life in them, they're still going to get larger, we'll use an elastomer filler. an elastomeric filler. Fill them in, and that way they can still expand, and that elastomer can elongate up to 300% so it can expand with them. One of these that we use is called Big Stretch, a very from the makers of Sashko is who makes that, and they're a worldwide leader in products for log cabins, specifically fillers, caulking, sealants for log cabins. And we all know how much log cabins move, right? So they're just very good at making caulking and stuff for wood, because they've been doing it so long. That's one of the things that you have to embrace when you start doing this repetitively. You have to embrace the best products, the people that know what they're doing, that have had products in place for extended periods of time. You need to embrace those products. What's great about Big Stretch is that instead of being chock full of polymer, acrylic polymer, it's actually more filler than it is polymer. And the filler that they use is it expands a lot, and it has great adhesion. So that's kind of what's great about it. It's able to expand and have very good adhesion. On large cracks, like there were some large cracks here on these posts, we're going to come in and use epoxy. If they're at the end of their life, we're going to fill it in with epoxy, let that cure up and paint over it. And then we get a flat, smooth finish that's as hard as concrete. That post ends up becoming stronger than it was before with that epoxy in there. So we covered mildew and algae, we covered the deck cracks. Let's talk a little bit about loose fasteners. So this system, it had loose screws, loose nails, things like that. Look how beautiful it's turned out. It's stunningly beautiful. We've come in, we've knocked those down, set those down so that you can't see them. I have to take my shoes off to walk on this. So come in, set loose fasteners, loose nails, stuff like that. That is with every deck in the area. Look how beautiful. Stunningly beautiful. Very pretty. The expansion and contraction of wood causes the fasteners to move, basically, and they become loose, and then they start popping up. It's important that you deal with these when that happens, right? Hate to see somebody stub a toe or something like that and get hurt on over a screw that's popping up on a deck, right? We also talked about hairlines, hairline cracks in wood. The problem is water sits down in them longer than it does in other areas of the deck, on the flat surfaces of the deck. So the water gets down in the cracks, and it takes it longer to get out of there than it does just on the surface. The problem this causes is it gets to the fastener systems, the nails and the screws, and sits down there on them for an extended period of time. This causes corrosion. Well, with the Kong Armor system, we virtually eliminate all of these cracks. 95 to 99% of them are gone once we install our system. This creates one of our features called water lock, right? So specifically, our elastic system is ideal for areas where water is plentiful, especially around pools and pool decks and docks and just areas that take a lot of abuse from water. The film thickness here, thick, high build elastomer. One of its advantages is that it's able to take on wind-driven rain, wind-driven snow, ice. Um, Toughness of the film is specifically designed to take on that stuff. So we cover in those cracks with this thick film that's able to lock out water, and then the water has a very, very challenging time degrading it, causing damage to it. It's just way tougher than the other coatings that are available, right? You think what else we talked about here? Hairlines, the deck post cracks. We talked about loose fasteners. We'll talk a second about expansion and contraction and how our system helps with that. So all these things that we talked about, these problems, they are from basically the expansion and contraction of this wood. What causes it to do that? Specifically, relative humidity. Okay, relative humidity is what causes this wood to swell up and then contract. When the humidity, the relative humidity, which is the measure of water in the air, when it goes up, these boards, if they're uncoated and not protected or have a thin residential coating on them, the water in the air is able to penetrate them and cause water particles to start to gather, build up in these boards, and then they swell. When the water content in the air goes down, when the relative humidity goes down, they contract. Well, this is also why thick build. Because when you go with thick build, when you go with a Kong armor system, the relative humidity has a harder time affecting this wood. It cannot easily penetrate the film. It's not a super breathable film. It is breathable, but it's not insanely breathable. Okay, so your expansion and contraction of your wood will be less. It will be less. This causes less loose fasteners, less cracks to appear, just less problems overall if you have less cracks and you have less water getting in. So it's a great benefit to protect these wood systems, right? The sun. We talked about the sun and how it causes extreme damage to exterior wood. It causes extreme damage to everything in its path, including human beings. Look at yourself. Look at a picture of you when you were a baby, and now look at you in the mirror. Look at what the sun's done to you. If you're being honest with yourself, it's wore you down. It's wore all of us down. As we age and the longer we're out in the sun, the UV rays, the UVA and UVB rays, they play on our skin. They destroy our skin pigmentation. They make our skin rough and coarse. They do that with the things that are left in its path, no matter what it is. Doesn't make a difference what it is. Doesn't make a difference. But what we know about thick build, the Kong Armor thick build system, and why specifically thick build, what we know about it is we know that it takes the sun tremendously longer to break it down. Okay? It takes it a lot longer to break down thick build, which is an advantage over thin coatings. Okay? Thin residential coatings that never had a chance. It's an extreme advantage. Okay? This deck here in Taylor Mill is complete, minus maybe a few touch-ups that the customer wants to have done. Outside of that, it's very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. This deck turned out extremely beautiful compared to what they had here. It's armored to the teeth. Union, Kentucky. Listen, I told you guys that we were going to end up locking down this composite deck system, and it's just turned out absolutely stunningly beautiful. Let's take a look at it. Look at this finish from that old worn out composite that had stains and scratches everywhere, gouges in it, to now we have this beautiful, beautiful finish. Step system is very, very beautiful. Two-tone, really, really pretty deal. We've locked down this composite. We've put this thick elastomer coating over top of this composite, and it's able to handle the expansion and contraction cycles of it. You can see that composite warps because you can kind of see the dip in this a little bit. Composite moves just like wood. It moves a lot, actually. The expansion and contraction cycles are different, but they do exist. And it's important that when you revive one of these, that you have a coating system that's able to keep up with those expansion and contraction cycles. Another thing that we've done here is we've come in and, as best as humanly possible, we've covered up a lot of these entry points for the fasteners that hold the composite down, right? So that water can't get to them. That's important. It's hard to do it 1,000,000%, but we've done it very, 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 very well. This white railing system here, we talked about the shade that it gives off and the problems that it has. So that up in there has been sealed off really well. If you go around here, all these sections are covered in with elastomer. They're very, very pretty. And now it's got a super tough industrial elastomer on it. That's a lot tougher. Look at that high build. Wow, that's super pretty. A lot tougher than what they did have on here that just couldn't withstand the constant movement of this wood. Splinter lock technology here. There's that frayed wood and all that's locked down. Turned out very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful deck system. This pergola, and I've been spelling it wrong. I've been spelling it with a U. Evidently it's spelled with an O. We've come in, repaired this, added a couple splines, cut custom splines and put them up for them. Underneath the deck system, we did some repairs to the post down there. I'll take you down there in a second, but just look at how gorgeous this is and how gorgeous it finished. It's really, really beautiful. Knockout beautiful. They're extended a lifetime limited warranty and lifetime local service on this coating system. So we'll be here for them for the lifetime of their system. Easily repairable, super tough, high stretch, can withstand expansion and contraction cycles. Just a great deal for them from that old faded, stained and scratched composite. We've completely revitalized it and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Let's go downstairs and take a look at as you go down this deck system here, you can see that we've done the stair system as well. It's turned out very, very gorgeous. Very, very pretty. All of this completely encapsulated in Kong armor, thick build, elastic deck armor here, high stretch, full bodied. Looks gorgeous up through there. Plaque here, so they know where they can get service. In fact, there's a couple spots here that I found already that I'm going to have serviced by the guys. One of them is this this post here. I think it's just a little bit light, and there's a light section over there that we're going to have taken care of for them. But what we've done here is these areas here were rotted out. a lot of these little trim pieces. We've come in and taken these off, replaced them. Did some rot shot to these post covers here to prevent further rotting. We work with an acrylic that can penetrate rot, harden it up and kill it, and then we come over it and coat it. Very pretty deal. Very pretty deal down here. What else did we do here? We also repaired a joist system here. And then there's the back side of that composite where you can see what it did look like before we coated it, right? This is what it looked like. So picture that compared to this. Which would you rather have, right? Very beautiful. Hey, I'm Anthony Ford. I create the world's toughest deck armor paint systems right here in the tri-state. Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, Southeast Indiana. We also travel to Georgetown, Kentucky. It's super easy to get a quote from us. You just go and visit www.kongarmor.com. Click on Get Free Quote. Thanks for watching my video. We'll see you guys on the next one. Look at this beautiful deal. This all had peeling paint. This whole deck was just inundated with peeling coating everywhere. It was everywhere. There was no surface that did not have it. You can see what we've done. Super pretty now. Super pretty. Super high build coating. Same thing with this upper deck here. Peeling paint everywhere. It's been locked down. You can see underneath here, this is peeling paint that we've locked down everywhere. Really pretty deck. Just gorgeous. Getting attacked by bees again. Here's a upper deck shot of it. So this deck just turned out really pretty. Unbelievably pretty. There was gaps and stuff here that we filled in. Our deck systems are just so tough, man. They're just so tough. Anybody that paints their deck now with just regular paint, I don't know. I just don't get it. Not when it, man, it's so tough. I mean, just tough, man. Very pretty. The deck floor itself is has a super build deck, which is my creation. Basically, where we come in. It's an intentional layering of 5 coats or more. 4 coats or more, I apologize. We started finding out that a lot of them wouldn't take 5. So we lowered it to 4. Very pretty. Very well. Just completed in Alexandria, California, Kentucky. It is extremely armored and protected with our ultra thick, highly expansive deck armor paint system. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. The color is espresso. UV blockers to fight damaging UV rays. We have little deflectors in our system that deflects UV rays back into the atmosphere. Splinter lock is a feature of our product where babies and stuff like that can't get splinters, because our thick build locks down any frayed wood, stuff like that. Look how pretty this system is, especially in the shade. It's a beautiful color. Tell you what, if you want something like this, visit kongarmor.com to get a free quote today. I'm Anthony Ford. I'm the proprietor of Kong Armor. I'm gonna brag on this one a little bit. We posted pictures of this deck, and boy, when we posted pictures of it, it was a nightmare. This deck system, massive sun damage, big, large, open cracks in the floor. It had rotten boards. The boards were crooked. I mean, the sun had just completely warped this thing. Mildew, dirt, it was filthy, had vines growing up it. This was probably one of the dirtiest, filthiest decks that I've done all year. Not because the people that live here are dirty or filthy, it just hadn't been cleaned in a long time. It hadn't been maintained in a long time, right? And it was probably one of the most challenging as far as filling up cracks and bridging gaps and this and that, right? And so when I posted the picture of this deck, I had several guys message me and say, "You're not saving that deck, dude. There ain't no way you're saving that deck." Hush your mouth. Listen, we locked this deck down. I'm in the final process of it right now, bringing it out. No, it's not going to look brand new. But what the important thing is here, we saved this owner thousands of dollars. We got it restored, and we got it protected enough for them to move on without spending their life savings on building a new deck. Let's take a look at it. So, and my stuff's stuck on Zoom on Facebook. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know. But you can see the outside of it. This was all like old red barn. You guys can go back a couple posts on Kong Armor, and you can see this deck, what it looked like before. And I'll post before and after pictures tonight. But you can see how we transformed the outside. But that's not really the miracle. The outside wasn't horrible. I'm coming down through these steps now and filling in the cracks on it. What was a miracle here was this floor. It was really, really bad with sun damage. And we've been able to come in here. This is where I'm at right now. I stopped right here intentionally to show you guys. It had this size cracks in it or larger everywhere, on every board. They're gone. For the most part, for the large, they're gone. Water lock, complete lockdown of these boards to where water's not going to get down in those hairlines anymore. Complete encapsulation of the fastener systems, the nails on all this wood. Is it a perfect deck system? No, it's not. The customer was working inside of a budget. They had to do something for safety. This is what we were able to do for them. Replace about 20 boards and then engulf this deck in our thick build armor. And it was important to get these cracks, these hairlines, to extend the life of this deck. Extremely important, and we got that done. I'm coming down through here now, and you can see the massive sun damage that exists. This is the type of stuff that was up here, and no more does it exist. An unbelievable powerful tool Kong Armor is to deal with these sun damaged ugly decks. It's just insanely powerful. I'm coming down through here now to fill these in. I'm going to resurface all this. You can see the thick build, high build armor that we have on here right now. This is all water locked out. You can see the encapsulation here. Everything's encapsulated on this deck everywhere. When you talk about filling in these cracks and these gaps, these hairlines, nothing is more powerful than Kong Armor at doing this. We come in, look at that, dude. Look at that, dude. Gone. Gone, dude. That's high grade elastomer that we just slammed down in those cracks there. And it'll hold the expansion and contraction of this board. Will some of these bust back open in the future? Absolutely. Absolutely. But the deck will be protected overall. Look at that. Gone. See this crack here, this hairline here? Same thing. We'll get rid of it too. Gone. Gone. That one might need a little bit more. And that's what I did all through there, is filled in all the cracks in this deck system. We brought it back, dude. Everybody said that we couldn't. Here's more hairlines. What happens is water sits down in these hairlines. Okay? And a certain amount of this is normal. Alright? And a certain amount of it is really not going to hurt nothing. But when you have thousands and thousands of them, that's when it becomes, when you have an absurd amount of hairlines, that's when it becomes a problem. Look at hairlines gone now. Hairlines are gone. That's what I've been doing here for the past hour, is filling all these in. Well, when you get thousands of hairlines like that in your deck, moisture sits down in them. And when they become too abundant and they become too thick, it becomes a situation where the sun cannot pull the moisture out of those cracks fast enough. And so you get this extra moisture that sits down in there. It works its way to your fastener system, your screws, your nails, what have you. And then it starts causing corrosion on them, rot. I don't know if you've ever stepped on a deck before and the plank kind of lift up. That's what that's from. That's from that nail or that screw. Corrosion is set in around it and cause the wood around it to rot out, and so the board becomes loose. If you might be one of these deck owners that have constantly, you got to go out and stick more screws in your boards because your decks keep coming up, because your boards keep coming up. That's what that's from. And long term, it can become a really, really bad problem. There's nothing on the planet that cures this better than Kong. We know this. But everybody said, hey, this one can't be saved. And I'm telling you, we saved it. We saved it enough to where they'll be able to use it. They'll get use out of it. And we've extended their life. This is a multi-family situation. So they're not extended a lifetime limited warranty, but they are extended lifetime service. So, beautiful deck system. I'm happy that we could take it from what it was. And you can see where the last guy that painted it hit the house and just made it an ugly situation. That's not us, okay? That's the last painters. That's a red color. We're using brown, all right? So, just one of the you know, a deck that had severe ugly deck syndrome. We've taken it, we've saved its life. That's what we do. We save the lives of decks in Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, Southeast Indiana, and in the process we save the homeowners, the deck owners. We save them thousands of dollars. We also offer them long-term care, lifetime service, lifetime warranty, all this stuff. It's not too late before winter to protect your deck now. Go to www.kongarmor to get a free quote today. See ya. So this is the Bulldog deck. This is a Ludlow, Kentucky deck system that suffered massively from sun damage. It had bad planks, fastener corrosion, mildew growth, algae growth. Just a really weathered deck system. And so the challenge was here, we were working with older gray wood planks, and the challenge was to bring those back to life and resurface this and make this deck strong, protected and strong, and presentable for the home to sell. Okay, take a look, and I'll throw some pictures in here. I have the before pictures of what this looked like before. There's been a few planks in here that have been pulled out and replaced, but outside of that, this is the original wood. I'd say 90% of this deck here is original flooring. We're going to come through and do another layer on this floor and build out some of these cracks here. Some more hairlines in here. This is a really rough plank. Not something that I would replace, but we'll definitely resurface this more and build this out and try to get this try to get those hairlines covered in a lot more, right? Railing system coated, beautiful lodge. This is a lodge color, a brown lodge color, very, very beautiful. Underneath the patio system here, you can see the wood is not as damaged as it is out here under the sun. And this resurfaced very, very beautifully under here. Railing systems all done. Silverback epoxy here in between boards to prevent water from penetrating down in there and filling that out and rotting, right? Super pretty, super gorgeous deck system. Very, very happy with how it's turning out. The thing here on this back deck here, the main problem is sun, and specifically expansion and contraction cycles. And you can see that these planks here, they go through a lot of movement, a lot of expansion, a lot of contraction. You can see the difference between a brand new board. This is a plank that's been replaced, and then you have an older weathered plank that's been under the sun for many, many years. And you can see the hairlines. These are bigger than hairlines, but you can see the cracks, and this is from this board. The humidity rising, and this board sucking in moisture and expanding. And then vice versa, when the humidity goes down, there's not as much moisture and heat in the air, this plank will go down. And from that movement back and forth over the years, these cracks open up. And what happens is eventually they'll start holding water, okay? And they can damage these planks if they don't dry out fast enough. So just a complete resurfacing and filling in of these gaps and cracks. We're going to do another coat here and try to get as many of them as possible. You can see the utilization of silverback epoxy here to covering cracks and gaps. Try to cover in as many of those as possible to lock out water, right? Splinter lock technology on this deck system. So it's very, very hard for you to get splinters after we come in with this thick build coating. All this was very rough. Now it's super smooth. You're not afraid to stick your finger. You're not afraid to run your hand over it and that type of stuff, right? UV block. So UV rays come down and hit this deck system. World-class UV blockers in here. The UV rays will come down and deflect off of this and shoot right back up into the atmosphere where they belong. All right. I'm Anthony Ford with Kongarmor. This was the Bulldog deck. To set up a free quote, for your deck system today to get the world's strongest, world's toughest, world's most versatile deck armor coating system. Visit www.kongarmor.com and click on Get Free Quote. Till the next one. Cincinnati, Ohio. We have a very unique deck system here that we're going to work on. This has been pressure washed by the customer. They got a lot of this peeling. We believe this to be Behr Deckover or Restore 10X, one of them. Not sure, probably more than likely Behr Deckover. They got a lot of it off here. We're going to come in and we're going to coat this system. It's very, very simple. We're going to come in here and replace any bad boards that exist in here. Do this deck, the outside here, everything that meets the ground. This little deck, this little walkway deck here. And we're also, Kong Armor is awesome for masonry. A lot of people don't know that. But our coating system has exceptional adhesion on masonry, block, stone, concrete. We're going to coat these two walls, and we're also going to coat this landscaping edge that's made of wood here. Okay. While we're doing all this, during the washing process, we'll come in and we'll set down any loose screws that exist in here. Again, replace any bad boards. The system comes with 5 boards. Okay, 5 boards, 5 spindles. They don't have spindles, so 5 boards here the system comes with. If they have more than that, we'll replace that too, but I don't think that's the case. I don't see very many, if any at all, that do need to be replaced. But once you start washing these, once you wash this system completely, often after washing we'll find some, right? So a very, very unique patio. This is more of a patio, a wood patio, than it is a deck. So we're going to call this the Cincinnati patio, the Cincinnati patio armor. Well, what are we going to call this project? The Cincinnati patio project. That's all we're going to call it. We're just going to keep it really, really simple. Okay. You can see here the peeling Behr Deckover that exists. That's what Kong Armor is here to do, is to come in, clean all this, and lock this down. Any of it that's remaining that has good adhesion, will lock it all down and prevent this from peeling in the future. Okay. Also, we're going to paint this door right here. This door and this trim that's around there, we're going to paint that. Okay. So that's it. See you guys when this thing is done. It's going to be a pretty cool little project. It's a neat deal. I'm happy that we're able to do this for them. It's going to turn out very, very beautiful. This will be a green color. So the big part of this is trying to get any of these that are loose or corroded, especially covered, put down and covered to prevent fastener corrosion. What I am going to throw in on this deck for free is our new corrosion treatment. So we're going to go in and pre-treat these screw heads with anti-corrosion, anti-rust treatment before we coat them. Okay, see y'all later. Okay, lockdown encapsulation of a patio, of a wood patio system here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm not in Clifton. I'm actually adjacent to Clifton, but I'm in Cincinnati. And you guys can see, when you look close, we have peeling Restore 10X that's encapsulated underneath of our Kong armor system here. So all of this was peeling crazy, ugly, and we've came in and we've locked this down and we've created a super pretty little backyard system. This up here, same thing, peeling, all that. And look at what the Kong armor system has done. You got to forgive me, we still have a little bit of wet coating on here. We have a little bit of effervescent that you'll see. That's our UV blockers, and those kind of they kind of flash a little bit when they're first applied. That evens out after a couple days, but as you can see, a beautiful, beautiful situation. This was old, an old barn red color back in here. We've also come in here and we've coated this cinder block wall for them, that cinder block wall, and that door there. A lot of people don't know this. Kong armor is actually designed for wood and masonry. We just happen to fall into the deck niche, and we work a lot on coating wood, right? But the Kong armor system itself is first class for coating brick, masonry, cinder block, this type of stuff. But I've tweaked this system specifically to be super high stretch so that it can handle locking down, bridging gaps, encapsulating, peeling coatings, and that's what you have here. This is a Restore 10X encapsulation. Just imagine a bunch of peeling Restore 10X through here before this was done, and now we brought in the Kong armor system and just encapsulated all of this. This was all washed very well, encapsulated, and then coated very thickly, and it's turned out beautiful. A beautiful deal here in Cincinnati. Super, super pretty. If you want to get, if your deck has this problem, peeling Restore 10X, peeling Restore, peeling Behr Deckover, what I call deck leprosy, I can help you. Go to www.kongarmor.com to get a free quote. You don't have to replace all of your deck floor and go through that massive expense. It's not necessary. We have the coating technology now to where we can completely encase these decks and save homeowners thousands of dollars. See ya. Here's the completion of the Triple Crown deck. Very, very beautiful deal here in this backyard. This deck had extreme sun damage. There's some shadows on it right now. It's just the time of day that I usually look at my projects. The sun is going down and it casts shadows. I can assure you that in the daytime this is extremely gorgeous, right? We covered over most of these fastener holes, 99% of them. Locked out this is water lock. This thing is completely waterlocked now. Really thick, giant build on here, which is exactly what you need to combat that dude right there. Thick build is important when it comes to decks. Without it, the UV rays of the sun basically all but decimate thin residential coatings, and it destroys their adhesion. The expansion and contraction of wood or composite or whatever's coated finishes the job off, the constant movement. It then causes cracking and stuff like that. When you have thick build, and specifically a coating that has cross-linking capabilities that takes off and expands and contracts with temperature movement and not movement from the wood, it creates a situation that's a whole lot tougher than thin residential. This was extremely sun damaged. You can tell by looking at it. We did the best we could with it, and it turned out really, really beautiful.